my daughter was delivered, and I'm looking at this person, and I'm like, I don't know you. I don't even know if I like you. I was totally not bonded with this baby. And you're supposed to, you know, be all happy, and I just felt nothing at all.
So I met my partner in 2001, and we got together. My partner's a woman, and so we met our donor, and in 2006 I gave birth to my son, whose name is Leandre. I often spent days with a crying baby or a needy baby. And so at the time, you know, I was managing, and I was saying, you know, this is okay, you know, I can do this. And then some things started to happen where I started to get a lot of anxiety. Anxiety that people were listening in on my conversations, that people were listening in at the door. I could hear people outside. So there was that concern. So I didn't go outside.
Yeah, when we decided to have our third child, I was obviously in a good enough state to think I was ready for that. I would never have foreseen what happened after she was born. And for about 3 days after she was born, I felt more calm, more confident, and good with everything. And then after about a 3-day window, I had a lot of ups and downs, and then the downs became repetitive and too extreme, and I didn't feel like I could keep my family together, and I felt that I wish I hadn't had another baby. This is too much. I can't do this. I don't like having this much responsibility. And I'm saying it fast because that's how the thoughts would be coming.
I can't stop crying. And I just cry all day, and I feel really overwhelmed with being home with this little baby who I still haven't bonded with yet, and who just keeps me up at night, and I'm just desperate for sleep. I had a really bad night, and at this point I was starting to rant and sort of rage at our son in the night, and I would just be screaming at him, and I'd be screaming at the darkness, just saying, why are you doing this to me? What did I do to deserve this? And then, of course, the remorse comes back and the guilt, and you're just thinking, like, who am I? Like, why am I behaving this way? Like, this isn't a mother. This isn't what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be this beautiful bonding of, you know, rocking your baby back to sleep and being in love. And meanwhile, I think he's just sort of this antichrist that's been sent to harm me.
When Stella was born, the day she was born, was like the happiest day of my life. And then we came home. And again, that week was okay. But very slowly, very insidiously, little things started to creep in. Like, I would look at my son and I would think, why are you here? I just want to be with baby. Like, go away. And my son is only, at that time, 2.5. So I would sort of think that, and then I would feel very guilty for thinking that. And then I would cry, and then I would say, well, okay, well, it's postpartum hormones. I'm kind of, you know, I was really on this super high, so now I'm coming down. And again, little things would just creep in. Like, he was standing right over there by the dishwasher, and I was unloading it, and I was putting away the knives. And I had a knife in my hand, and I looked at him, and I thought, if I could just stab him right in the eye. I wonder how bad he'd cry. I wonder what would happen. And then I would sort of like snap out of it and be like, oh my God, am I really thinking that? And, you know, put the knife down and walk away from the kitchen. And then I would think, wow, that was a really scary thought.
I was terrified to bathe her. When somebody would come out, I would say, oh, it's so fun, do you want to give her a bath, you know, because I couldn't do it by myself. I was sure I would hurt her or drown her.
Things that are kind of harder to talk about are the intrusive thoughts, the ones where, you know, you start to think about harming yourself, harming your child, and those are hard to say out loud, because as a mother, those are not the things that people want you to even say out loud, because it's so taboo. But that happened, you know, and that's when I think I sort of said, this isn't normal, this isn't right, you know.
I knew what was wrong when I woke up the next morning, and my son had kind of regressed a bit. He had been trained, and then I woke up that morning and I had to get up and like wash his sheets and do the normal parent thing, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have anything, I don't have any energy. I just want to be like sedated. And the gap between how I wanted things to be and how they felt was so wide that it terrified me.
I think it was about a week later that Mandy phoned and said, I'm not coping well. She didn't feel she could cook for her family or that they would be taken care of. So I said, what is it that you need? And she said, I think I need to be at home and be taken care of. So I was grieving for Mandy that she wasn't feeling what I felt she deserved to feel as a mother.
He was scared for me and scared for our son, so he called his mother to come. And so she came and sent me up to my room to sleep, and I did sleep for a little bit, but I heard him crying in our basement, and I woke up, and I remember thinking, I don't want to go to him. I don't want anything to do with him. And I just lay in bed and I was thinking, I just want to run. And so I started thinking about what I need to pack. And I, remember thinking about the suitcase and, how quietly could I get it out of the cupboard and put what I needed, and where was my purse and my keys, and maybe I could just slip out the house and she wouldn't know. And I was really considering it, and then I thought, I don't know what it was, but this voice behind my head said, no, call the doctor.
I thought, that's it. I cannot parent these children. I'm gonna screw up their lives. And I cannot be their parent. So then I thought, okay, I can't be their parent, so what can I do? I could leave. I could go back up north. I could work in the Yukon, stuff I always wanted to do. And then leaving Jeff to raise them, well, he'd probably screw them up as much as I would. So leaving them is out. I could kill myself. Then they wouldn't be looking for me all the time. And then that would solve everything, because then I wouldn't have to live with the guilt of abandoning them. And I thought, well, I can't really kill myself, because then they would have to live with wondering why I killed myself. So I thought, okay, well, killing myself is out. I could kill them, then kill myself. Then they wouldn't have to wonder what happened. And then I wouldn't have to wonder or live with the guilt. And I started to think about how this would. And thank goodness, a huge bolt of, it was like an epiphany. I just sort of woke up from this daydream and went, holy cow, did I just make a plan for, because as anyone with mental health experience tells you, the closer you are to a plan, the closer you are to action. And I sort of thought, oh my God, my thoughts really went there.
I'm not sure people are aware of how many women experience this, how many men experience this. And when you first hear the numbers, they seem quite shocking. But we know 1 in 5 women, 1 in 10 fathers, and 28% of adoptive parents will experience that. This is huge when you look at that in terms of numbers. Currently, we do very well with women who are experiencing acute psychosis. Where we don't have the system or the supports or the treatment is for women who experience a moderate level or a mild level.
I think that we need to really seriously look at what does that do to the baby's development, and what does that do to baby-parent attachment, and how does that impact the family down the road. In the long run, if we treated those families now and the babies now, perhaps 18 years from now in adult mental health, we'd save money.
Some of the reasons people aren't talking about this is there's a lot of fear. There's fear, if I talk about this, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my child. And we do know that parents that experience depression or anxiety or mental illness, it does have impacts on the children. But it's important to recognize that these impacts aren't the fault of the parent. They're doing the best they can, and with support for the whole family, the family can do very well.
It's an illness of secrecy. Even though we know that it responds very well to treatment, most of the families aren't able to access treatment, and most of the families try and figure this out by themselves. So in northeastern Ontario, we have 7 babies coming home a day, potentially at risk of their parents having a postpartum mood disorder, with very little service available, with no provincial strategy to ever have a service available.
So the project looked at all of northeastern Ontario, and when I speak of communities, I mean all of our communities throughout northeastern Ontario, and that spanned from Muskoka, Parry Sound, all the way up the James Bay coast to Sault Ste. Marie. This was a large area, but all of our communities were involved in developing this and creating this and making the recommendations. And they're stepped recommendations. We need to do one, then the other, and then the other to move forward. So the first recommendation was to make postpartum mood disorders a priority in our community. We wanted our families and communities to be invested in. And what our recommendations are, and what the recommendations coming from the working groups as well as from the women, is it needs to come from the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care and the Ministry of Children and Youth Services, because we know this illness is intersectorial. It's coming from both sides. It affects adults and it affects children, so that combined approach to dealing with this issue is the first recommendation. Make it a priority and make sure the ministries that are involved in moving forward. The second recommendation is a comprehensive look towards building capacity and competency within our communities, within our service providers, and we educate them around this illness and the seriousness of it, the proper treatment of it, and so we have everybody on the same page. The third recommendation is that we do a very simple, coordinated education campaign, that we're looking to educate mothers, fathers, grandmothers, all of the support systems around this illness, the things that they can do, the things that to watch out for, what are the risk factors, what do I do, where do I go? But the main priority is that we make this a priority.
Just look at all the time that I've been waiting. Don't even wanna know why we are hesitating.
We're really pleased that the partners have been coming together to develop this comprehensive plan for the Northeast, one which the rest of the province may benefit from as well. The Northeast Local Health Integration Network understands the need for improved access to mental health services. In fact, it's one of our top priorities in our strategic plan. The Northeast Postpartum Mood Disorders Strategy is one step in that direction in helping families and children in the Northeast. But it takes us all to make it happen.